Some insight and analysis now and the implications of the latest developments as far as the power balance in the coalitions. We'll speak now to Professor Susan Booysen, editor of Marriages of Inconvenience, the politics of coalitions in South Africa, a research-based reflection on lessons from coalition politics in the country's major metropolitan municipalities in recent years. Prof, good evening. Good to have you with us. Thank you very much for your time. The court's saying the thrust of this litigation was really about political skirmishes within the City Council of Johannesburg. Can any particular party here claim high moral ground? I mean, in the context of the power struggles that we see everywhere else in the metros.
Indeed, Dabu, no. You're putting your finger right on it. On the one hand, the coalition politics in a country, especially also now at local level, stand in the context of the ANC slipping in power. Municipalities where before, well, some time ago by now, it had held power. And its general ratings slipping overall nationally and provincially as well. And that's a general ceding of support by the ruling party. And the ruling party, ANC in this case, formerly ruling at the local level, Johannesburg, is not very graceful in letting that power go. On the other hand, the DA, still a smaller party individually than the ANC, is harnessing opposition parties to build coalitions and therefore take that power, seize that power away from the ANC. So these coalition politics at the local level stand in a broad national context of power, changing power balances between the political parties. And this is a big national battle across the provinces and the municipalities to change this balance of power. And it is often the game that takes priority rather than municipal governance. And really, it seems like almost like a cliche now to say the interests of the people should be placed first. Yeah. But it's truly a heartfelt need. I think that's going up across the country. And when people are wondering, why can't they not just be local level governments of national unity to ensure that we do not have these battles? But then in a context that there's been so much corruption, now again, Mayor Palazzi seems to allude to facts or things that have been going wrong. There's so much suspicion and mistrust between the political parties that it almost seems like something that would be out of place at this particular time.
Now, the main instigator is said to be the Speaker, who holds one seat from COPE, and the other minority parties who were seeking, as it seems, to address the balance of power within the multi-party government itself, where I suppose a lot of the infighting was happening between Democratic Alliance and Action SA, and they seemingly were not having a voice there. And the Patriotic Alliance also saying they were really being undermined within those particular politics. Has the balance of power in that multi-party government shifted, do you think?
These balances of power within the coalitions just shift so frequently, sometimes from week to week, if not on a daily basis. And where they were, some of them originally were with the DA and then got annoyed with the DA because, as I said, claimed the DA wasn't respectful enough, was too arrogant in dealing with them. Then they agreed to work with the ANC. Now already we hear some voices that perhaps know that those parties are again prepared to work with the DA. But then also we know that many of these individuals that had crossed the line, they were disciplined by their political parties. They were representatives elected on the proportional representation side of this electoral system at local level. And therefore their parties could ask them without a by-election. If it had been ward councillors, the parties would have needed by-elections to replace them. But because they were PR councillors, the parties could deal with them. Some of them have been removed, replaced, Others are still facing disciplinary action. So the political parties really switch a lot from one alliance to the other, depending on what offers they were being made, whether they treated well, whether they are getting, and I'm now talking broader than just Johannesburg, whether they're getting mayorships or speakerships, etc. And so there's a lot of volatility and flexibility, fluidity in these coalitions. And fascinating enough, yes, Speaker, she stays in her position as Speaker, Colleen Makubele from COPE. She's the sole councillor of that party, of a party that is really disintegrated, COPE, become dysfunctional nationally. And that would definitely be something for political parties in future to address in their coalition agreements. What happens to those councillors of political parties? Many of these parties are that tilt the balance of power within these coalitions are very tiny, microscopic those parties, and when they can easily disappear and act on the whims of their single person leaders without much internal accountability. And it's these small micro parties that constitute blocks, and very powerful blocks nowadays in local level politics, and really punch. Perhaps it's generally a good thing to punch above weight, but when political parties that are elected proportionately on a particular type of electoral system, when they have got nobody to be accountable to, that creates big problems in coalition politics generally.
It's a power struggle, as we have already said. The executive mayor saying, well, legally, and the courts agree, I am the executive mayor, they must vacate that office. But, I mean, in essence, is she really going to control anything?
She is probably going to battle to exercise control. She is going to have to tread such a fine balance, balancing the interests, the voices of a range of parties, and many of them with one or two representatives. And they are very easily persuaded, as we've seen in the past, by other offers, benefits, patronage, maybe just more nobly delivery to their particular constituencies by, in this case, for example, the ANC as opposing party, as leader of the opposing alliance. And so it is inherently unstable and volatile type of coalition. And I know the DA had previously said after that 2006 coalition power they won in the city of Cape Town, that they had learned a lot how to manage these small parties, very complex coalition governments. I think that is going to be a small experience compared to what is now required in a city like Johannesburg. If Mpopelatsi, on behalf of the DA, and whether she can manage national DA leaders and to be able to get that space to work in what she and the city leadership regard as the best alternative. If that is done very well, then she may stay in power. But it is probably going to be a continuous battle, because even if the ANC's Dara Marrero, now former mayor, had indicated that he accepts the outcome of the result of the court ruling today, it is probably going to change generally within maybe a few weeks, a few months, because the ANC has also been saying, contradictorily in fact, that they believe they have sufficient numbers in council to bring a legal ousting of Palatse and her mayoral executive committee in a few weeks perhaps. So there's a big difference between them stating that they are accepting the outcome, the court ruling, and not trying future maneuvers further down the line, because it remains very important for the ANC to show, also in the run-up to 2024 national and provincial elections, to show control over a city as powerful and important as Johannesburg, and to able to have the positions to deploy cadres, very much still an entrenched practice. It is important for them to be able to show that and to give contracts to parties, agencies that are favorably disposed to them. So the stakes are very high in a city like Johannesburg, and I do not think the ANC is going to give up easily.
Professor Susan Booysen, much appreciated. Thanks so much for coming on and your intervention tonight. And of course, we're watching that carefully. This says the Speaker has also issued a statement saying she is studying the court judgment and will be taking legal counsel on it.